This is the PR Podcast, a show about how public relations helps you tell your story to the world. We talk with great PR practitioners who have the skills, creativity, and just plain savvy to get their clients noticed. Now here's your host, Jody Fisher.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the PR Podcast. I'm Jody Fisher. Thanks for joining us. Well, welcome to episode 58. I've never actually made a practice of calling out the episode numbers, but I saw that recently, and it occurs to me that's more than a year of episodes that we've done, one a week, since our very first one. And so that's kind of thrilling. We're really grateful to everyone who's supported us in this journey, the guests, the listeners, everyone who shares our episodes on social media, who chimes in on social media. We appreciate everything that you do to spread the word about the PR Podcast. And so appreciate that as we go forward. You know, I've said many times, it's not a money-making podcast. We're not making any dough here. This is all about sharing best practices and hearing from the people who have a role in the news decision-making business, whether it's PR professionals like you and me, or whether it's reporters, editors, videographers, photographers, anyone who does the job of making news and sharing stories. That's who belongs here. So if you are one of those people, please get in touch if you'd like to be a guest on the PR Podcast. We'd love to have you on here. Keep spreading the word on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We're on all three. We also still do have that YouTube channel, way overdue in producing original content there, but you can find the episodes there as well. And again, just a huge thank you to everyone who has supported us over the last year and a half. We are also less than 24 hours after this big Alec Baldwin interview that was on ABC last night. And by the time this comes out on Monday morning, we'll be a few days past it. But it's everything that the PR folks are talking about today. And let me be clear, addressing this from a pure PR perspective, from a messaging perspective. Molly McPherson and I, who was a guest on the PR Podcast, and she's one of the best crisis communicators in the country. She and I talked about this, taped an episode of her podcast earlier this morning, and it should be out sometime next week. As of this taping next week, when by the time this drops on Monday, maybe it's already out. Check her out at mollymcpherson.com and on social. But she and I had a really animated discussion about this. And long story short, don't want to spoil the ending. I think that interview was masterful. He did what he came to do, regardless of what you may think of Alec Baldwin. He came what he did to do. And you can listen to that episode when it drops. Check Molly McPherson's podcast out on your favorite podcast app. Now, with all that business out of the way, we have a terrific guest next week. Let's get right into it. Amelia Sugerman is a Providence, Rhode Island-based public relations and media relations strategist with 15 years plus of agency and in-house experience across numerous industries, including travel, health and wellness, and business-to-business technology. She's currently the senior manager of strategic communication at Collette, which is a global travel tour operator. She specializes in external communications, crisis communications, and securing publicity through a targeted approach. She served on the board of directors for Girls on the Run Rhode Island and enjoys Peloton. Hey, me too. We can talk about that. The beach, me too. Yay, we can talk about that. And dark chocolate. Oh, 3 for 3. We're good. Amelia, welcome to the PR Podcast.
Thanks so much for having me, Jody.
All right, so let's get the Peloton out of the way. Right? You're in the cult?
I am absolutely in the cult.
All right. How long and what is your name if we want to follow you on Peloton?
So I jumped on board right at the beginning of COVID in March of 2020, and I have not looked back since. And I was actually just looking this morning. I'm nearing that 15,000 minute badge for this year. So very excited about that. You can find me at Sugermelia, Sugermelia.
All right, we will definitely. I will definitely follow you after we get done with the taping. I am a Peloton addict. I actually was.
Who's your favorite instructor?
You know who I really enjoy riding with is Jess King. I think she's hysterical. I think her energy is terrific. I love the stuff that she does with the DJ Jean-Michael. She's just funny. She's exactly what you need. I mean, I ride very early in the morning, and it's exactly what I need to sort of get up and get going.
Her stories, sometimes I think to myself, is this real? Does this really happen?
It's true. It's true. She's got quite the and all those instructors really, they let a lot out about their own personal story. I mean, I think that's part of the appeal, at least for me, about these riders, that they're not just encouraging you, they're actually sharing themselves with you.
Definitely leads to that community perspective.
All right, we will connect on there for sure. You may not ride at the hour that I ride, but that's okay. We'll be on there anyway. Well, tell us about your business and how things have been going the last 18 months. You're in some of the ground zero types of industries that have really been challenged through COVID.
Absolutely. So I can say that there's honestly been a lot of ups and downs over the past nearly 2 years. At first there was so much uncertainty. I think every business was concerned about the implications of this disease. And for someone working in travel, I think the professional stakes just seemed really high at the time. And I can remember in January of 2020, Collette was on track to have its best year yet. So we've been in business more than 100 years and travel was booming. And we were in January of 2020, we're looking ahead to the coming year, and we started to hear some things about the disease in China. And I remember tours in China being canceled. And I kind of said to myself, okay, it's just a small piece of our business. Everything will be fine. And things kept happening. And I think, every day, no one really knew what to expect. And I think that kind of sums up the very beginning, that February, March period, when you didn't really know how to react because you didn't really know what was coming. And I think that's really important. Today, travel's coming back. It looks a little different than it used to, and we can kind of get into that a little bit later. But, Collette is a family-run business, and I think that's also important to mention because it can be really hard sometimes from a strategic comms perspective, because you need to be comfortable with having some really tough conversations when it's a family organization. And there's that extra level of passion and emotion that you sometimes see. And, we were dealing with really difficult decisions.
Are there any strategies or kind of things that you did in the beginning when you're talking about getting cancellations and communicating those cancellations and managing client or customer expectations? Are there any strategies that you use that you found you had to reuse and sort of they became your best friends, perhaps? Are there any ways that you came up with communicating effectively?
So I think at the very beginning, we wanted to manage customers calling into our call center because obviously, people were concerned and they had a lot of questions. And what we did at the very beginning was start to figure out what are the themes of those questions. So as the customer care center, we're going through some of those issues. Was it people calling because they were genuinely scared about the pandemic? Did they just want to know if their tours were getting canceled? Getting a sense of all of those questions and putting them down into a frequently asked questions on our website was really, really crucial at the very beginning. And I can say for my demographic, so we primarily deal with those who are about 65 and older. So we wanted to be mindful of that as well. Putting this into language that they could certainly understand, that they could get through quickly and not have to spend time, on the phone with our agents every day, trying to navigate this.
Yeah, they're going to have that was the first high risk group, right? In COVID. And also, doing that FAQ, which is a fantastic arrow in the quiver, to use a Hawkeye reference from Marvel Comics. But the FAQ can really reduce the pressure on your call centers because, many times people can go to an FAQ and be like, oh, okay, fine. Sort of allay some concerns, or at the very least, adjust people's thinking for when they do call into that call center. And now they've got a more, I don't want to say more intelligent question, but a more refined question, right? A more specific question rather than, well, you're going to refund my money or something like that, right?
I also saw the value of having the website because it was easy for us to make edits every single day. And with something like this, it really was, I remember there were times, 3 times a day that we were making edits just because things were changing that quickly. And it was really great to have a place to put all that information.
So you're using those with your customer base. Are you also using that FAQ with media to communicate out to media?
We were, it's everyone says, you have to prepare for any type of situation. And I work with my executive team, and, I can't tell you how many statements I've written over the years that never saw the light of day. And in this situation, I remember at the very beginning starting to write statements, and it would be like, let's just cross that whole thing out, because now, an hour later, the situation has changed. And so, getting that information out to the media and making sure that, they knew what we were doing, it's so important for transparency in situations like these, and I've really tried to follow that from the beginning of my career, being transparent and honest about what's going on. And also, being able to say, we really don't know. I remember a reporter asking pretty early on, how were we going to, make this right with the customer? And I said to him, I said, we've never had this happen. We need a few minutes to go back and see what we're going to do. And I think in the moment, I was really nervous to say that, but in hindsight, I'm really proud of myself for doing it, because it would have been worse to just say, oh, everything's going to be fine, because here we are 2 years later and everything, wasn't fine.
And that is probably everything's going to be fine. That's probably the one statement that did not fly, because I recall somebody in a position of power making that statement, and he was proven to be very, very wrong. Yeah. So that's good, and good for you for saying that, because I also think, at least I found this in my communications with media, and you tell me what your experience was. It was a distinct moment of humanity. There was a little while there, and it wasn't a day, it was a few weeks, where everybody found themselves from a human perspective in the same boat. We were all dealing with the same stuff. We were all stuck in our houses. Those of us who were parents were dealing with parental issues, right? With either with kids or with older parents, or both, if you're in the sandwich generation. We're all kind of stuck, and we had this moment of shared humanity where you could say something like that to a reporter. Like, hey, you got to give us a chance to take a breath here, right? Not necessarily something to be quoted on, but like,
Right.
sort of adjusting that. And you were most likely to get the response, yeah, I get it. Okay, fine. Can you just give me a little something from my article? Can you just give me a little something? Because I got to do my job today. Can you give me a little something that I can run with? Did you find that too?
Absolutely. Every morning, one of the things that I would do, especially after we had to come home and, be on lockdown, every morning I would kind of take a lay of the land and figure out, okay, what's going on this morning? What are facts that I can say? So if there is a reporter that, wants to know the latest on a specific destination, here's what I can say. And then I would also make a list of things that I felt like were a little bit in flux, whether that be at that point, things like vaccinations and all of that were not even in the realm. At that point in time, when COVID hit, we were just trying to figure out, okay, can we operate? It sounds so simple, but we didn't at that point know, back in late February, early March, are we going to be able to keep traveling? And I can remember the night that the president put the travel ban on, my phone rang around 10 o'clock. I'll never forget this. And, my executive team was briefing us, and he said, we have 1,000 travelers out on the road and we need to get them home. And in that moment, I knew that, first off, I knew that I was working for a company that I completely believed in, because we were going to do the right thing and get those people home. And everything that I had worked on in my career, all of the times that I had spent, trying to craft the right messages, it was almost as if, I knew that our responsibility was to get people home and to also communicate to their families and to communicate to their travel advisors. We work very closely with travel agents. And so that was another piece of the puzzle to make sure that they had all the communication.
How much did you lean into your social media to help you messaging? I mean, I got to imagine that
Yeah.
social media questions on social media are flying at you at a million miles an hour. What did you do with social?
So at the very beginning, I met with the social team and I said, we need to first, just like we did with the call center, I wanted to get a sense of what are people asking? Are we getting messages from people who are on the road? Are we getting messages from families? Are people worried about a trip a year from now? Or are they trying to figure out, can I go on my trip tomorrow? And so again, going back to those frequently asked questions, we started to kind of put that together and say, here's what we know. Here is what we are doing. Again, going back to that transparency piece, I wanted people to know that we were doing everything in our power to make sure that everyone was in a safe situation and to be able to get home to their families.
And so now you're working, 18 months later, as you walk through this, now we're kind of all coming out of this, we hope, with this new variant coming, but right, we hope. And I think, with a combination of vaccines and intelligent behavior, we'll all be relatively fine. But now you're working to rebuild, right?
Yeah.
And people are starting to travel. I mean, I did some traveling over the summer, in fact, took the kids on a couple of trips. We actually have booked a trip for February, where we'll be flying. So, we're emerging, and we've been relatively safe. I mean, we've been very safe. I mean, nobody was ever exposed. No one ever had to be quarantined. Now we're a fully vaxxed family. We've always been good with the masks and everything else. How are you now rebuilding your brand, your business, and what are you communicating to people about how they can go about getting out there again?
So I alluded earlier that travel looks a little bit different right now, and we're certainly seeing that in our booking patterns. One being that a lot of people want to travel domestically. And in the past, we had kind of a mix of both international and domestic travelers, but we're really starting to see people want to get out there. They want to travel in their own backyards. They feel comfortable doing that. And, our product line we are able to do that. You're able to, book that trip to Nashville or to the national parks and spend time outside. It's this careful balance of wanting people to feel like they can get back to travel and do everything that they used to, but also acknowledging that travel has changed a little bit. Things are a little bit different when you get there.
What are you doing to either encourage people to take those trips and letting them know that it's safe, or answering their questions about safety? I mean, those questions are still coming in. How are you responding?
So first off, to your point about following the science, I think that's really important. Collette made the decision about a year ago now that we will only allow fully vaccinated travelers, both on our domestic and international trips, which I think is really important because, as a traveler, I want to make sure that I'm alongside a like-minded individual, someone who takes it seriously as I do. And, we talked earlier about the average age of our customer. And I think in that sense, it's also really important. So, looking at all of these wellness protocols and making sure that people feel physically comfortable, but also mentally comfortable as well. And I think that's certainly a big piece of it. Traveling with a tour operator gives you the confidence that you have a tour manager by your side. So you're able to have that person to navigate some of these complex situations, whether that be, testing if it is in an international location, whether it be just things that are a little bit different now. And I think that's also really important. So knowing that you have that person by your side, I think has been really helpful in our own business.
Let's drill down a little bit into the types of media that you're communicating with,
Sure.
right? The types of reporters.
Yep.
Is it mostly travel and tourism media, or is it also mainstream media, beat reporters, things like that? Where are you finding your most traction in getting your message out?
So there's definitely a combination. And I think that is because we do go out to different various, there are multiple ways that you can buy travel through us. So whether that be through a travel agent or directly through our site. And so we do work alongside, national and local media, But at the same time, I spend a lot of time speaking with the trade publications, whether those be travel agent publications or group leaders, and those that really know the travel market and that, want to hear about sales that we have going on, but at the same time want to know, okay, everyone's going to have a sale right now, but what are you doing differently to make sure that my client is going to feel safe on tour?
Yeah. And are you finding that you're getting, I would imagine you're getting terrific response from the travel agents, which I also have to imagine you can sort of anoint as ambassadors of yours, right? I mean, they want you to succeed because they succeed and vice versa. It kind of goes back and forth, right?
Absolutely. And I think, one of the things that we really try to do, especially when we're speaking with the media, is that I always want to make their job easier. I never want to be in a situation where, a reporter is saying to me, I can't find the information that I'm looking for, or, I'm trying to write this article and I need to get it out today. And, I think back, we talked earlier about how so much was changing early on, those first couple of weeks. And now, I'm starting to see, certainly to a less degree, probably because I might be jaded from everything that has happened, but, as Delta was coming online and now Omicron coming online, and, we're starting to see these hiccups, but at the same time, knowing everything that we've learned over the past 2 years has made it a little bit easier to communicate and to be able to now be in a position to say, we have vaccines, people are getting their boosters, people are still traveling. And that has been really powerful, and that has been helpful for travel advisors to be able to go back to their clients. And those are the things that I want to say in the media.
Where is travel right now in terms of rebounding from whatever high you were at pre-pandemic? Are you at 50%? Are you at 75? Where are you in your bookings?
So right now we're really trying to stay on track with 2019. We feel like 2020 and 2021 were difficult. One, because there were a lot of months that we physically could not travel. Obviously pre-vaccinations was also a really difficult time. But we're starting to see it come back. And it's interesting because, again, people really, really want to travel. People want this to be over with. And I think that does outweigh some of the fear of, these new variants. And I think that the people who are listening to science and are, holding firm in your belief that, if you are vaccinated, that you can get out there and you can still do the right thing. I said it the other day, I said to myself, people are resilient. And I think they want to make these trips happen more than ever before. They want to make these memories. They want to spend time with their families. And, for us, I think that's what we really want people to be able to do.
Are there any challenges you see on the immediate horizon, or are there challenges that you can turn into opportunities? And again, addressing this from sort of a communications perspective, ways you're telling the story of your company and encouraging people to travel.
So one thing that I have found that I've been chatting about a lot lately is this idea of giving the gift of travel. And I think in the past, a lot of people were so focused, especially at the holidays, on, gifts that, materials that they wanted to bring into their house. And although travel has always been about making memories, I think that's even more true today, just based on losing the opportunity to have these memories over the past 2 years. And in speaking with the media, I'm certainly hearing that, people want to get out. It's so funny. People don't, before it would be, I want to go to Ireland, or, I want to go see XYZ in a certain destination. People don't even care where they go now. They just want to go somewhere. They want to get out of their houses. They want to know that we're going to cover every situation from beginning to end. They don't want to worry. They don't want to have to think. And I don't blame them. As someone who also, has spent a lot of time at home over the past 2 years, I certainly get that. And I think that's what we're trying to really, that's the word that we're really trying to spread, that we will take care of everything if you trust us to come on board and travel with us.
Well, that is a great place to end our conversation, Amelia. Thanks so much for sharing that perspective. The travel business, from my point of view, has really been challenged over the last 2 years. And but I also think, to your point, it is also an essential part of who we are as people. We're not meant to stay in one place. At least I'm not a guy who stays in one place. And so I was thrilled to be able to go out and travel, even, take the road trip to our little beach vacation last summer. And I'm looking forward to traveling in 2022. So hopefully your business will see things pick up and start to trend up the way we want to see things trending up. We are going to transition and trend into the rapid fire question portion of our podcast, where we steal a page from the Inside the Actors Studio show and ask our guests a series of rapid fire questions. These meant to elicit a simple answer, one or two, whatever gut reaction comes to your mind. So with your indulgence, here we go. Rapid fire question number 1. What is your favorite news source?
I'm very much a local girl, so I love the Boston Globe.
Awesome. All right. Rapid fire question number 2. What is your favorite social media platform?
Instagram.
Yes, we love our pictures, don't we? I have become an Instagram junkie. I really have. And I said this before, there's this stigma around people posting selfies. I like it when people post selfies. I want to see my friends.
It's real and it's authentic. And especially over the past couple of years, for some people, it's the only way I've been able to see what they're doing.
It's so true. It's so true. All right. Rapid fire question number 3. Coffee or alcohol?
Coffee all day.
All right. Very good. Rapid fire question number 4. Your favorite on the run food?
Dark chocolate covered almonds.
All right. You gotta unload on me on the dark chocolate. Go ahead.
I love dark chocolate. I appreciate that you love it as well. And if you can put, dark chocolate on anything, I'm there. Pretzels, almonds, perfect mix.
That's awesome. You sound like my daughter with ketchup. She'll put ketchup on white rice. It's just insane. And rapid fire question number 5. What do you want to be after you finish this career?
So I've always wanted to be a meteorologist.
Ooh, okay. What's the attraction there? Go ahead.
There's something about, I call it digital weather chasing. And I'm fascinated by seeing the weather patterns. And we have this little joke in my office that whenever it's going to snow, I'll send out a little brief and let people know, what's coming. I feel like that's probably an 80-year-old thing to do, but people I find that everyone gets themselves in these situations. They're out without a raincoat or snow boots. And especially here on the East Coast, I think it would be helpful.
All right. Well, we'll look forward to that once you're good and done with the travel business, which I know you have a long career ahead of you. Well, Amelia, again, this has been a great conversation. Please let people know how they can find you online. Absolutely. You can email me at amelia.sugerman@gmail.com. I'm on all the socials at Sugermelia, SUGERMELIA. And if you're interested in traveling, check out www.collette.com. Fantastic. Thanks again, Amelia. And thank you, everyone, for listening. Please remember to subscribe to the show, connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The PR Podcast, and send us a question or a comment. Our intro is by Christopher Appold. You can find him and his fantastic photography on Instagram at Christopher_APPOLDT. Check him out there and hire him for all your photography needs. You can find me online at Jody Fisher on all the socials and online at jodyfisherpr.com. We'll see you next time on the PR Podcast.